indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, guys. The mission statement of the Lee Public Schools is to ensure students have the opportunity to develop the social, civil, and critical thinking skills to thrive in an ever-changing world. Brenda Cooper, roll call.
Here.
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 Mr. Nichols,
Here.
Mr. Strickler,
Here.
and Mrs. Wadsworth.
Here.
Yep, sorry.
What's wrong?
The next item on our agenda is the approval of the January 10th, 2023 Lee School Committee meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 10th, 2023 Lee School Committee meeting minutes. I'll second it.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Strickler?
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Next up is public input. Residents of Lee are invited to address the committee regarding items on this evening's agenda at this time. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Issues raised will only be referred to the administration or a subcommittee of the school committee. None. Moving on, next up, reports. Mr. Bianco.
Hello. So as we transition to second semester, I'm just going to recap on how we ended our first semester with our Love to Learn event. And now that passed with the student signups, I think it went really well, and we are gathering feedback in the near future from teachers and students about how the whole day went. Just to recap, it was a full day, 4 blocks. Students could sign up for what they wanted to learn in the real. We had outside speakers come in on taxes, personal finance, in all areas. That was just a very nice way to end the semester. And for a brand new semester, all students go their second semester schedule for the high school and middle school. So looking forward to the new schedules in the second semester. This past week, there was a joint band performance from Mount Everett and Lee High School. They combined in Z to perform a really nice performance. And I'm sure that everyone is looking forward to the winter break coming up.
Wonderful. Thank you. Mr. Superintendent.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Nichols, and let us roll through. We'll start with a happy Valentine's Day. Some of us are dressed up to celebrate the holiday. We appreciate that. I guess we all didn't get the memo, but either way, happy Valentine's Day. And I promise I will do my best to be brief so that you can all get home to your loved ones earlier than later. Just a quick note on something that didn't make it into the document I shared with you, but I thought it was important to note about the incidents that took place today regarding swatting. Swatting is defined as the action or practice of making prank calls to emergency services in an attempt to bring about the dispatch of a large number of armed police officers to a particular address. So some of our neighbors in Berkshire County were victimized by that. Other districts across the Commonwealth and across the country were similarly interrupted. And I just think it's our thoughts should go out to all those communities that had their days disrupted unnecessarily by foolish nonsense. And so just a reminder, instructional time is important, and we have no tolerance for this type of behaviors, but we would respond appropriately and in accordance with our emergency response systems should this have happened to us here in Lee. We have one new hire, Caitlin Doherty. She's an LES paraprofessional, so welcome, Caitlin. Caitlin is also a graduate of Lee Middle High School. I won't tell you what year for fear of getting it wrong. Enrollment update, we have, let me change this, so I can see, 640 students. We are down a couple of students from last month, but we continue to work aggressively to try to attract new students, but we need our students here each and every day. And so my last memo that went out to families reminded them about the importance of coming to school, being here each and every day. But if you do need to be out, to make sure that you use the appropriate resources at each school to let us know. And again, a reminder, I've taken COVID off of this presentation tonight, but if you do feel unwell, please test and make sure that you report those accordingly. And we do have lots of tests available and masks. So if people need them, we've reminded them, if you need to come in and take and get some, we're happy to provide them before they expire. So be encouraged. We've got lots that the state provided us last year. Quick MCAS test administration reminder for families out there. Here's the calendar. I'm not going to go through all this, but you see it takes a lot of our spring revolves around standardized testing. So, you know, the dates are prescriptive at the high school. They are flexible at the elementary level and middle level. And Tim and Greg, Principals Mertnook and Brigetti, have worked hard to make sure that we're providing students with the right resources ahead of the tests and that we're spreading them out as much as we can whenever possible to give students breathing time between exams. Want to let you know that a week ago we were awarded $36,000 to assist in the implementation of our high quality instructional materials that we got for math. So are into math. Those are monies that need to be spent around sort of planning and supporting professional development for the implementation. You know that we rolled that series out this year, but this will help us to fine tune the work that we've been doing to make sure that what we set out for gets accomplished. Another interesting thing that I added late, the Berkshire County Superintendents today, we're sending out a letter to the governor and lieutenant governor expressing concerns about the increase to OSD, that's Operational Services Division. They control tuition pricing for special education programs and programs that are supported by that aren't covered by tuition. So I've noted here, like one-to-one aids, the increase is expected to be 14%. It's normally been between 2% and 4%. And for us, that represents about a $43,000 increase in special education costs, anticipated special education costs. We all know, we've had conversations oftentimes about the unexpected that can occur in special education. So if we do have to place somebody out of district that we weren't expecting or planning for, those costs at 14% adds up very, very quickly. So,
and just to jump on that, if you belong to the listserv from MASC, you'll see that MASC is also backing legislation to stop that. And they're asking school boards to sign on. So even like endorsing the legislation or the resolution or sending a letter in support of rolling back that 14%. It's pretty aggressive to budgets for a lot of school districts.
and
You know who's sponsoring that? What legislator is sponsoring that?
I don't know which one. Jason Frazier from MASC has got all the backup.
I would be
I can
happy.
forward you the email.
Yeah, and I would be happy to share with you the letter that that was crafted by the roundtable. And perhaps if this committee was so interested that maybe at the next meeting you could tweak it, revise it, and perhaps get behind it. We want to do this obviously more sooner than later, so I don't know whether we can wait until March 14th, but I'll share it with you regardless.
I would suspect most school districts.
Yeah, it's really.
Yeah, I can't imagine any district that would, besides one of the 200 approved special ed schools, that would say, yeah, let's do this. So it's a big number.
Yeah.
A quick mention for South Berkshire kids. I met with Jess Maloney today and got an update on some of the things that she does through CFCE. And that's a coordinated family and community engagement grant. And they do some extraordinary work. And so I put these next couple slides on here so that families at home can make sure they're aware of the programming that is available. This one is really cool. Me, you, and we put together by Boston Children's Museum. Right now, they've got 10 students participating in it. They're all 2 years old. So that's pretty remarkable. That's a great message for us to think about the fact that so many families are pursuing early education and taking advantage of these services. Lots of the programming that they have, she gets a lot of 4-year-olds, and the age span that CFCE covers had been up to 8 years old. It's been scaled back to 5, which I think is appropriate because if you're 5 or older, you should be in school, not necessarily participating in these daytime type activities. But this one is cool because it's right here in Lee. It's a story walk through downtown Lee. So if you want to access this slide when we post this presentation tomorrow, you'll be able to see. You can stop into the Lee Library during normal hours and pick up the map, or you could certainly copy it from here and follow it. And it's a fun activity. Each stop has a little story to read, and then and then you return back. You start and finish at the Lee Library, so it's kind of neat. Comfort Dog fundraisers. We've talked about this a number of times, so we're hoping to get this kicked off tomorrow. This is Carrie Wade here at Lee Middle and High School organized this fundraiser through Texas Roadhouse. The issue is going to be one that we talked about before, which is where would the money go if we're fundraising? And so I checked in with Jay Sullivan at DESE
I love Jay.
today. Jay's a great resource, and I said, what do I do? What can I do? Because this doesn't seem to fit neatly into a revolving account. I did send all of you an email about that later this afternoon, but just so that to refresh in case you didn't get a chance to see it, Jay basically said, well, you could create a gift account and run it through that, and that would be permissible. So
Get the PTO support us.
Well, it still has to come through some account though, right? Doesn't it?
Well, yeah.
I guess the question would be around
know,
paying bills. And
Yeah.
so, right. And so that would make, I think that would be a little bit of an added step.
Okay.
But I would like to ask the school committee to authorize the creation of a gift revolving account whose specific purpose is the cost associated with Comfort Dogs. So
Is it a gift account or a gift revolving?
it's a gift revolving account.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah. Don't we have a donation revolving?
We do. I didn't know whether this should be a specific one for accounting purposes and tracking so that everything is sort of clean and associated with that. That's only my recommendation, but that's a committee decision to make.
Mike, not to step over here, Mike, but I talked to Mike earlier today that we did get a donation, an actual money donation from somebody in the community. And so it wasn't on the agenda, but we're gonna add this as any topic that we couldn't, reasonably expect, in both of the agenda. We do need to create something to put that donation to.
Yeah.
So we'll, and I
Do
imagine.
we need to officially accept the donation as well?
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the next conversation that we have to have is at what point is there a threshold at which you'll allow me to receive a donation and put it in there? And then at what point does it trigger bringing it to the committee to say,
So baseline, so
Right.
anything under $1,000, just put it in, anything over $1,000, that's good. Something like that. Yes, no?
Yeah, or should we talk about this when we talk about?
Yeah, maybe not to interfere with the superintendent's.
got it?
We can, yeah.
I just have to laugh. How long do these dogs live for? I mean, I don't mean that, but like the length of the dog. How long do these dogs live?
Hopefully a long time.
Hopefully, long.
Hopefully a long time.
But really, like Seriously, years. Is that right?
Oh, anyhow, that's, again, if we can come to some resolution on this, we'll be good. I'll keep moving though, again, for the sake of time. February break begins at the close of school on Friday, as Mr. Bianco mentioned. I think, everybody is, excited for that, ready for that, and hopefully, they be safe and have fun. And that's the end of my report.
The question is, where's Kathy Hall talking about the rink at the field? Oh, poor Kathy.
It's better off the kitty.
All right, let's see, moving on here, principals and directors reports, Lee Elementary.
We were recently awarded $3,000 from Project Bread to expand student access to breakfast. And we purchased a mobile POS system, so students can use their code, so we can keep track of who's getting this breakfast. We also plan to utilize our current breakfast cart to put it in the library, so that students who come in through that entrance don't need to go all the way down to the cafeteria to get breakfast. So we're hoping that we can increase the numbers. Anytime you can get more kids access to food, the better. Hopefully this will go far in doing that. We're also exploring a salad bar option for our students. There'll be more to come on that, but food services director and I have been looking at grants as well as how other schools are doing it, so that we can try to make a detailed plan, potentially pilot something this spring to then roll it out to the start of next year. Commonwealth is offering a competitive grant for schools to increase their building security. I'm sure Dr. Meyer will speak to this a little bit, but I just wanted to make sure I mentioned it. We're going to apply for this grant with the goal of hardening the entrance at LES to include a man trap similar to what we did this year at LMFF. 26 of our ELF students underwent WIDA testing last week. And we received sample materials recently from companies for our ELA pilot. And we're looking to move forward with HMH into reading, and we're piloting that in first, third, and fifth grades. We're doing 2 modules, which should last about 6 to 8 weeks. And the goal is to start those pilots when we get back from February break. We'll update you, as we move forward with those pilots. We sent the DESE report card home to LES families recently, which was just released, and that was sent home in our last newsletter that went out yesterday. And we also secured a grant from the Massachusetts Cultural Council, which will pay for a Flying Cloud Institute residency for signups in 4th grade. And in March, we are going to do a signs of suicide screening for the 6th grade, similar to what occurred down here at the middle high school. We're doing that specifically for 6th grade. So we will be reaching out to families directly, 6th grade families, to let them know what it is we're doing, so that they are aware. And that will be in March, and then we'll update you as needed in terms of how that goes. And that's what I have this month.
Thank you very much.
I have a question on the suicide screen. Is there a recommended grade?
So 6 through 12.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're kind of in a unique position being,
Yeah.
and we're doing it with our own little flavor that works for us, following suit.
Any other questions? Okay, no high school.
So, sake of my voice, I'm going to be very brief. Progress report to be issued this Friday after 3 o'clock. Just like Mr. Bianco, I want to just, for those of you who weren't able to either see it online or in person, I wanted to mention that the concert last week was truly extraordinary. A joint concert between the high school band and the Eagles community band. It was amazing. And I think you can still see it on the CPSB website if you take it. We'll be beginning course selection for the 23-24 school year in March. So we'll be reaching out to 6th grade families as well as our current students here to start building the schedule for next school year. And on March 10th, 11th, and 12th, our drama program will be showing and performing the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. And that's Friday and Saturday evenings and Sunday afternoon, March 10th, 11th, and 12th. It should be a great show.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay. Special ed.
There's not a lot of changes since we last met. I do want to remind people that preschool screenings are April 25th, 26th, and 27th. And that would be for all students who are turning either 3, 4, or 5, because it's also including the kindergarten screenings by October 1st of this year. They can contact my office or the main office at LES, and we'll be happy to make an appointment for you. We are also working in conjunction with Jess Maloney, and she's been handing out our flyers and letting parents also know that we are doing the screenings. We have started our wait list for our 3-year-old and 4-year-old program for next year. Our 4-year-old program, we have a lot of 3-year-olds going into the 4-year-old program. So we don't, but we do have a couple. So it's important that people know that sometimes people think that they can't get in until kindergarten, and we actually do have 2 or 3 open spots for 4-year-olds for next year. And I am in the process of getting ready to file for extraordinary relief for circuit breaker. The training isn't until March. I was hoping I would be able to do it over February break, but I cannot. So that will be turned in March 31st. So hopefully we'll get more funds than was anticipated. We're kind of right on that cusp, so I'm hopeful.
Do you have a number you
also-
expect?
Hmm?
Do you have a number you're expecting?
Not yet. No, there's a lot of hearing right now. We're not sure what the final percentage is going to be either. It says up to 75%, but I am afraid it's going to be lower this year. So we shall see. We have had some really great feedback from a student that we have that is actually, we have at Gateway. She is in a program for students that are visually impaired, and it has been one of the most amazing collaborations that we've done. They just opened their program, and she is flourishing, and she's getting ready to start high school next year. And I just want you guys to know that it is definitely a good choice, and she is doing extremely well. She may be back for a little bit this summer, depending on what she's doing this summer. But she is very much enjoying it, and she's growing a great deal.
Okay.
We do still have 2 open positions in special education for paraprofessionals, so if anybody is looking, we did make some moves recently, and they have worked out exceptionally well. And we are hoping to fill those last 2 spots as soon as possible.
Awesome, thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, facilities.
Good evening, just to touch base real quick on what Principal Merton said about grant opportunity, that is to develop a man cap up there. Facilities, standing apart for access and controls. All the documents have been obtained in quotes, and we're populating that information with hopefully a successful application. The LES playgrounds are for the most part done. The undergrad mulch is completely filled inside all of the playscapes. There's a little bit of grading and some mulching to do outside of the curving areas. We hope to tackle that over the break. The insurance inspectors in front of the state inspectors are scheduled for February 22nd, and that is for the inspection of our boilers. The old truck has finally left this planet. It succumbed to its age and left us with a bit of a void and lack of capabilities. But DPW has provided us a F550 in the interim. And the truck's a little bit older, a little bit longer in the tooth, but does have all the capabilities of what our old truck has. The plow blade in the truck itself is with asset of DPW. The salt spreader that is in the back here is an asset of school, but married to the truck for now. The structures have been experiencing some roof leaks. This is mostly due to the packing of slush over some heavy rains and storms that just kind of found its way inside of every nook and cranny. We get up there during the day, and we're doing our best to find those seams and those holes and repair them. Otis continues to build for the repairs that corrections have not been made to the elevator, nor have they confirmed that the corrections are actually needed. Just anybody stand by, remain in communication with them. We still have a little bit before it's mandatory that we become compliant. No damages occurred over the cold weather that was experienced, which is a real blessing. I mean, those are temperatures that I've never really experienced before. But the facilities withheld that extreme cold, and we have no losses to report. Other than that, the facility is coming along, and we're going to turn the school really great.
What was the outcome of the garage door in the
Yes, so the
base?
Sure, in the garage, the bay door, in the weight room space, had a failure, it became dislodged and came off its track. We had to call in Overhead Doors, who was the company that was implementing, the security sensors. They had not touched the door at all, they changed nothing, they just added sensors. This was just a failure that occurred. We had them come out immediately, we secured the door, and we're scheduling the code.
I remember it happened at that party.
It happened right before the cold was happening, so we had this huge hole in the side of the building with sprinkler heads and no means to keep up with that influx of cold. So we do what we had to do, buttoned up the hole, and we'll be making it good.
Duct tape and plastic.
There was a lot of that.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for Jordan? Okay, moving on. Finance Subcommittee reports.
Well, thank you. So the Finance Subcommittee met last week, not an hour ago, which is the first. We talked about our warrants, and the first one is the accounts payable. As you can see, it's for $237,798.98. Nothing particularly outlandish here. So that is the number that was approved by the finance.
Thank you. Your motion.
I move to accept the warrant for $237,798.
Thank you. Second,
I'll second.
any discussion? Brenda, roll call please.
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Mr. Sherrick?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Strickler?
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes,
Yep, and the second warrant that was approved by the finance subcommittee was the payroll. Again, this aligns with what we budgeted for, and the amount is $525,769.21.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we accept the warrant, the payroll warrant for $525,769.21.
Second,
I'll second.
roll call please. I'm sorry, yeah. Any discussion? Roll call please.
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Mr. Sherrick?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols? Ms. Strickler?
Abstain.
And Mrs. excuse me, Wadsworth?
Yes,
Okay,
And just on one, we've been going over the budget, so I'll lead you to that, but,
Yeah.
you know, we spent most of our time going over the budget, going line item. We met with the town as well to, you know, kind of give them the prelude of what it's gonna look like when we do the presentation, so. Here comes the other part of the
So
presentation.
again, very quick, right now, not ready to share with the full committee all the lines, but just sort of the summary sheet and the cost centers that we're looking at. You'll see that we're at a 4.81% increase over last year. The biggest change there is whether we ever need to go to the $125,000 in sped reserve, right? So if we don't have to touch that, if I was comparing the 10,289,902 to the 10,653, 684, that number would be much less. That 4.8% would be much less. I will tell you that I think that where we are right now in terms of our planning, our monitoring and managing of the budget, we may not need to go to the town to ask for that $125,000 this year. May not. I can't make any assurances. But that's
they're okay with it?
no. So I
Just
don't
wondering.
want to speak for Mr. Britton or Mr. Arienti with whom we met, but when I met with them in January, I don't know, late December and then again in early January, I had cautioned them that I was expecting this to be over 5%. And so I think to some degree this was almost welcomed. when it came in under 5%. There are some expenses in this budget this year that had previously gone unfunded. And so my hope here was, as we look out another year, when all of the ESSER funding is going to be gone, that I don't want that fiscal cliff to hit this school district any harder than it needs to. So by building in, and even if it's scaling up towards that, by building in some of those things that previously we weren't budgeting for, that'll help us to be in a better position down the road.
So just a question on the sped reserve. So it's the 125. So does that get carried over to another year, or is it?
So yeah, it's a reserve account, so it'll sit there until it's needed.
It could potentially build up.
There would need to be another another
Appropriation.
appropriation at town meeting for another $125,000, because that's the cap. So $250,000 is the cap.
That's
So they
right.
could theoretically ask for another 125,000.
Are we,
Whether it's, they haven't mentioned that yet. So
we could ask we could say, could we put 25,000 in?
Right.
And start like little amounts, and if they have free cash and they don't want it to drop to free cash, it's a great way to put it somewhere without losing it that way.
Right.
But they haven't mentioned that either, right?
Correct. And our meeting with the town's finance committee is on February 28th. So 2 weeks from tonight.
So these numbers, these high numbers, usually they ask, like, remember when I'm looking at Greg, remember when it was like 0, come back with 0, people would freak out because there's raises in there, just contractual
Or even
raises.
last year was at, well, I think it was 3.91, 3.2.
Yeah, and
Three
threes
point-
went hot, right? But you're seeing this all over the state, right? Like some people are doing 8 because that 14% is killing people. And people, you have all this influx of the federal dollars from COVID, which infused all these positions that people needed and needed, right? We needed this, and now you do need them, and you have to fund them because the money's gone away. So
So,
that's really good, Mike.
right, well, I think so.
What are the balances of, oh, I don't care, but what about, like 800,000 for school choice, we still got money in there?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. That keeps us in a good position for school choice. You'll notice that I did decrease circuit breaker by $10,000 because we haven't been getting $100,000. And so again, trying to be a little more realistic with where we are. So this was just my hope to give the committee a quick update on where we are. And obviously if I will send you at some point all the lines so you guys can take a look at them. And then if you have questions, please direct them to the finance subcommittee or to me. Happy to address.
and the flip side is chapter 70 is going to be increased, right?
Mhm.
And so even though town keeps it, it's still a value add to the town.
Right.
So it's a gain for us.
Right. And then the reminder here is that we're back to open town meeting this year. So it's not representative town meeting, just as a reminder. And so,
Go to the town meeting.
I go anyways.
so
It's actually unexpected.
So there you have it. That's the end of the business office report. You're welcome.
No old business. We're gonna move on to new business. LMHS Program of Studies. Mr. McGinn.
Should have in front of you, hopefully, our proposal for changes to the program studies for 2023-2024. Aside from minor changes that happen every year, there are 4 significant changes that I've been asking for the committee's approval on. The first is a new course in the arts called Creative Connection. This replaces an existing course in the catalog. Mrs. Clark, our art teacher, is constantly looking for what students' desires are in the world of arts. In her own experience working in her CADX program, she's come up with this really kind of very creative and interesting course proposal for next year. Again, it replaces an existing course, so it does not add anything financially to the requirements. The second change, both the second and third changes actually are in the science department. We are seeking to remove honors physics from our program of studies. Physics is in general the junior year course in the science program. We currently have physics, honors physics, and then later on, there's AP Physics 1, which now we call college physics because it's a dual enrollment course at UCC. What we are proposing to do is get rid of the honors physics course, and students who wish to pursue that challenge would take college physics during the junior year. That is that dual enrollment course with BCC. It's a slightly different course description here than what is in the existing program of studies. This would mirror what the junior program is in both English and social studies, where we have a college prep level, we have a college work / AP level as the two options. The second change to science would be adding AP Physics C, which is a mechanics course. This is a first for us. It is a calculus-based physics course. So you either need to be enrolled concurrently in calculus or have previously taken calculus. This would not be a junior level course. You have to take physics first before you can take AP Physics C. It's the same way as some of the other AP science courses. As with all of our AP science courses, they alternate every other year, so that students in the course of their junior and senior years can actually, if they chose to, take all of the AP science courses. And with personnel and our class sizes, alternate them is a nice balance. This would be a small enrollment course. I'll say that right up front. It is unusual for us, at least at the beginning, to have a calculus-based physics course. Some of our neighboring districts do have this and successfully run this. It'd be a great opportunity for students who really want to become a science major in college to get that extra step, to get that exposure to calculus-based science. The final changes we're proposing are in the social studies department. And you may remember that if you've been around for a few years, 4 years ago, we started implementing the new state frameworks in history, which bumped civics and government back to 8th grade, and then had a full year of U.S. History 1 in 9th grade, Modern World History in 10th grade, U.S. History 2 in 11th grade. Because of those changes, we are seeking to remove American government and economics from the program of studies. We're a little sad, particularly about the government course, they do cover through the state requirement that U.S. History 2 course in junior year is required to do a civics project that all students must participate in. So some of that is going to be embedded in that U.S. History 2 course, so there's some review from that 8th grade course in the junior year. Those are the changes we're proposing for next year's program.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
I move to accept the proposed changes for the revision of the program of studies.
There's a second.
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion?
Okay. That one. So any personal finance, like economics, any personal finance, like where are they gonna learn it?
So we do.
Their math, like
This
finance,
economics
economics?
course was an elective. It was not a requirement.
Yeah.
And it was very low enrollment. It was a microeconomics course. I think in my 9 years here, we may have run it twice.
Oh.
So it's very low enrollment. In the math department, we do offer 2 courses related to that. There's a 1 semester personal finance course, and there's a year-long financial math course. Both of those are elective courses. However, you may remember a few years ago, we put in place a 4-year math requirement, starts with the class of 2024,
Mhm.
which is next year's seniors. So my anticipation is that, that financial math course will start to grow.
And then the American government, I mean, my God, it's crazy out there. So it's gonna get touched on, like how important
It is,
civics
that-
is.
That year-long course in 8th grade is actually really impressive.
Okay.
And we do review some of that freshman year as well. The US history 1 courses. And as we talk about the development of the nation, that obviously comes into play. Then there is a fairly extensive that civics project that's built into the junior year course. So it's not, well, we might not have a standalone required course in government or civics anymore. It is embedded.
Thank you, Greg.
I was gonna say, it's probably Sunday for this one. But I also noticed there wasn't the addition of any new electives in this arena, and is that just based on space and numbers?
It's based on the number of faculty we have in that department, and the fact that we have what was previous to the changes in the state frameworks. We had a 3-year social studies requirement, but only 2 of them were year-long courses, and then now that we have that 3-year graduation requirement that are prescribed courses, it leaves little less room for choices.
I mean, for me, just looking at the social studies of American government, especially high school and the training team, the criminal history voters, and the science of voting. But I also understand that it is probably in U.S. history, the foundations of the country, the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and so forth. So I wish it stayed into high school. Because you guys think about it, becoming citizens, they're going to be turning 18, they're going to be part of the world, part of the process. But I know it gets covered in US 1 and US 2, so.
I think we're lamenting.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Strickler?
Yeah.
And Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes,
Moving on. Donation to Life Skills.
I think that's Greg, yeah.
We had a student recently complete his time in the life skills program. Turned 22, and it was time for him to move on. During our little gathering for him and celebration, the family handed me a check for $500 donation for the use of the life skills program. So we have accepted that with your blessing.
I make a motion to accept the $500 check for the life skills program.
I second it.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Strickler?
Yes.
And Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes,
All right, 23-24 school calendar.
All right, the calendar was shared with you. It's also on the screen in front of you. Some quick highlights on the calendar that's proposed is PD, we get back one more day of district-directed professional development next year. We'll get the last day back in the next year. But we're proposing to begin PD on Wednesday, August 23rd, and have 3 days of professional development. The following week, we're proposing the first 2 days as being half days to allow for adjustment and acclimation of students on Wednesday and Thursday full days, and then a 4-day weekend for Labor Day weekend. That's a little bit of a compromise that I tried to reach with the LEA because their contract would otherwise not allow them to return until the 28th. And so to get them back a little bit earlier, that was a little bit of the.
Can I just ask you, the half-day acclimation, like for Monday, Tuesday? Well, the Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday half day, so people or families were gonna go on a longer weekend vacation.
Would miss school.
They would have a half a day.
But
They get a jump start.
yeah, Yeah,
Well, I just,
But-
I don't know what is it
so,
something with how you, I mean, you said affirmation, so
so we
tried.
use it in a little bit of two different ways. One is it allows us 2 more half days of PD time
Yeah.
as needed. And so to get that done before we're full, and then teachers find that they use those first 2 days to get a little bit of chance to get to know their students and then respond or react accordingly so that they're prepared for the kickoff of school. So
Something. I don't know.
I can appreciate that.
Gonna throw it out there. See if it sticks.
The next highlight is countywide PD on November 7th. And then the other part, Mr. Kinnis, to be very honest with you, is the last day of school with no snow days would be June 10th. That's a Monday. Well, the reason for that is that June 5th and 6th are MCAS test dates. And so for science, for high school. And so we actually purposefully wanted to go into the following week and not have Friday be that last day of school, because if a makeup is needed, et cetera, we'd run out of time. And so that 4-day Labor Day weekend served a separate purpose to push us to the 10th so that we wouldn't run into a challenge with this testing.
So one snow day equals one additional day.
Correct. Correct.
There's no built-in snow days in the calendar?
No.
Now,
There are
I
100.
I may have grown up I grew up a little bit north.
That's why I
of us.
asked the question, because that was.
No,
And I'm not gonna say like I went to school uphill both ways, but like I remember some really harrowing drives to school. But we also, you know,
One a couple weeks ago.
yeah, well, we also have like a week of snow days built into our calendar. And the only reason that we had that, you know, if you use them, and the day was the day. But psychologically, it's kind of nice that if you only use 3 of those days, you got up to the snow.
Yeah. I understand that sort of that mental thought process, and a lot of calendars will say with no snow days, with 5 snow days. But there's no limit on the number of snow days that you can have.
Right.
You just have to make them all up till June 30th, basically, and
Yeah.
then the teacher's contract would say, well, good luck. So,
On the state, right?
Yeah.
That would be dropped to 3.
yeah. So, so again, the LEA has reviewed this contract, has said it works for them as well. So especially the half days, I think. But anyway, so now that's in front of you for your approval.
I make a motion, we accept the FY 24 school calendar.
Any other discussion?
Even with the dates.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kinnis?
Yes.
Mrs. Cuthbert?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Strickler?
Yes.
Mrs. Barford?
Yes, there's 180 days in this.
There are 180 days.
All right, school choice slot for school year 23-24.
So I'll start with, before I get to the numbers, just sharing this with you. This is an advertisement that's going to be in the Berkshire Eagle later in this month. It reflects similar to what we did last year, but we've upped it to a full page. This is really trying to get a little bit aggressive with attracting new families to come to us through school choice. So I appreciate Mr. Briganti's artwork and multimedia savvy and putting that together. So thank you for that. But the QR code is active. It will bring you to our Lee Public Schools site where you can access the school choice.
In the middle of that QR code next time. You have it in.
So I was gonna ask that about the curriculum. That you want to- I mean, that, you know, it's enticing more people to come. Yeah. Okay. No, it makes
Yeah.
perfect sense, smart,
Plus the way we grade differently, right?
all eight. Joking, joking.
I think the students who are in my 7th grade math class may respectfully disagree with that. Anyway, what you see in front of you are the proposed school choice slots targeting 60 students per grade. Some of these numbers look large and are highly unrealistic that we'll ever get there. But if you don't set the bar, if you set it too low, then what's the point? And so we'd really love to have 60 kids at each grade level. That would set us up well at both schools to meet the needs of students. Currently, 12 individuals, students have already expressed interest in school choice. 7 of those are kindergarten.
Nice.
So that's the best in some ways when we get them early and we
Yeah.
keep them, right?
That's like the first graders.
Say, I love that first grade. class.
Right.
If you had kindergarten, you might think differently about that.
Right,
I
so
guess
that is next year's, those are next year's grade levels, right? So to Mr. Nichols' point, there are 52 students currently in kindergarten.
And when my kindergartner is in a class of 18 other students, I have a hard time accepting the fact it's a small class size. 18
It's not a
kindergartners,
small class.
it's not a small class size. 18 kindergartners is a zoo. And I love my daughter more than anything. And thankfully, she's not old enough to be embarrassed by this yet. Like, there are days that she comes home when she hasn't had an opportunity to use the restroom because there's 18 children trying to use, a bathroom for that class, or if there's a bathroom between 2 different classes, there's something in the other classroom. That's tough. 18 kids in a class, like you're saying, the goal is 65th kid per grade.
Great opportunity.
20 kids in a kindergarten class is not a small class, and that is a lot of kids. Now, I understand, like, school choice, we have $800,000 in school choice in the last 2 years in our budget. We have to finish that money somewhere. I don't want to.
The concern is this year's grade 1, for instance, only has 38 kids. Right, and then 2nd grade has 41 kids. Those are small, those are very small
I recognize that.
classes.
So it sounds like you're presenting an opportunity to go back and have a conversation, what can we do with these numbers?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't know.
And the kindergarten's always a great unknown, right?
Right.
We have no idea.
You wait too long for the slots and you don't get enough kids and the parents go elsewhere. I get it, I'm, until I purchased my house in Lee several years ago, when I lived in Pittsfield, you were looking at a family that was going to be school choicing into this district or to whatever district you can get into. Nothing against the Pittsfield school system. But that was the reality of it. But my kindergartner right now with 18 kids in a class, that is a lot of kindergartners in one class. And I worry about what effect it has if we start.
Well, we have language in the contract that says we strive
Strive for.
it. And so that's,
Right,
that's
yep.
what it is, right? But that sets a boundary on what our numbers are. And the lower grades are low,
Are low.
right? They're definitely not, I think they're 20. They're not,
20.
yeah, they're not 25, definitely. And so, because you can have up to 30, there are some places that have up to 30. So we did that to honor the teachers and keep, because they had said the same thing, right? It's a lot of kids. And then my concern is, so you have to be careful with choice. You don't want it to be on a tipping point because we only get $5,000 per student, right? But we pay, I think, what are we, 19,000 right now for per pupil cost?
About, yeah, our average per pupil expense is about 19,000.
So I'd be concerned in grade 2 for a certain reason. That's very close to the tipping point. So yeah, I'd love 22 kids because you're gonna fill seats. But if, we'd be looking like Lennox. But 6th grade, 3 is awesome. 5th grade would be good. But you also don't want to trigger where you have to hire another teacher. Because then we're affording another teacher for $5,000 a student, which isn't what we're paying per student. So there's a lot of economics to it, but I believe in choice too. Like if students want to come to have a great education, I say fun choice and just open up all the boundaries and let everyone go back.
I think one of the things,
Nobody likes that idea.
One of the things that I consider though is to your point, Mrs. Wadsworth, is if we had to do that is when I look at a small class number like 38,
That's tough. Is that 2 teachers? Or
that's 3 teachers.
Wow,
And-
that's sweet though for the kids, right?
Right, but that's where you would say if you had if you had another classroom that had that you were maxed out at, you
Move a
you
teacher.
move a teacher,
You move a
right?
teacher.
So we've got that flexibility that exists right now.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah, I guess I'm just, I don't know, I'm struggling with this. I'm a firm believer in school choice. Bring them in. A lot of wonderful kids on school choice. Our district been great. For us. 100% behind that. I
And
just-
keep in mind, I don't imagine any of these hitting that number, right? I'll be very realistic, right? This is a wow, in an ideal world, we'd get all these applications. We might get a lot of applications, but we know that students and families are applying in multiple districts and then they play the selection game. Where do I want to go? And so it's a little bit of goal setting. It's very unrealistic to think that we'll get to 60 in any of these, except maybe somewhere grade 8 or maybe, grade 8 or 9,
That's
maybe.
good too, right? High school will take them
Or
all.
6,
Well,
yeah.
we're
Right.
in the high school, where
And-
classes spread out, there's more choice. They're not just one group of kids going from one to the other. 100%.
We'll take them in kindergarten too, because once they get in, they're ours.
Right.
Usually, and they stay. They make connections.
To wait in line for the bathroom. That's why they can't leave.
Well, I mean,
We need to build more bathrooms and get more staff.
there's aides with that, the kindergarten. teacher,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
They're not in first grade. I mean, the classroom that there goes away in first grade, so.
It's probably the 2 that Jen's trying to hire. We need more staff. So these are what you're aspiring to?
Yeah.
Correct.
I make a motion, we accept the FY 24 school choice slots.
Is there- Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
That's it.
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
No.
Ms. Strickler?
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Vape sensors.
Mr. Briganti. You want to come, Mr. Nichols, if you don't mind, do you want to come closer so that you don't have to talk so loud? Greg's losing his voice, so I don't.
No problem.
We had 7 straight days of laryngitis, I feel for.
Like singing or something? Like what's happening?
The cold.
Oh,
Um,
you know, if you took up singing or something.
nobody wants to. We have been noticing over the last several years a marked increase in vaping among our student body. This is nothing that is least specific. However, there is some data, as we'll see here in a second, that indicates that it is a bigger issue perhaps in Lee than in Berkshire County as a whole. The first thing there are vaping-related disciplinary infractions here for the last several years. You can see that for quite a few years, they hovered around 10 or 11, maybe 12. These, it's important to note, are kids that are caught and receive some sort of consequence for vaping in school. During the pandemic, obviously, we saw a decrease. Although the 1920 school year, if the trend continued through the entire year, would have been right around the same as the previous years, around 12. But schools closed, if you remember, on March 13th. The 2020-2021 school year was another anomaly. If you remember, we had basically for most of the year, half of the kids in the building at the time, alternating days. So that number was down considerably. 21-22 last year, it came back up to its historical place. And so far this year, through today, We've had 17 students receive disciplinary consequences for vaping on school property. If that trend continues, it'll be almost 30 by the end of the school year.
Are these 17 individual students or 17 individual?
Those are 17 students who received a consequence.
Unduplicated.
Unduplicated students. The bottom chart shows results from the Prevention Needs Assessment Survey that is done every 2 years. And shown here are 2017 data and 2019 data by grade levels 8, 10, 12, and then a total for those 3 grade levels. And we can see that at each grade level between 2017 and 2019, there was a serious increase in self-reported use of vaping products. This could be vaping nicotine, it could be vaping THC. They were combined together. The 2021 data isn't shown because that was a pandemic year and it was not a complete survey. It was a very low sample size, so it's hard to compare that to other years. The 2019 BC column is the Berkshire County average for those years. In the last column, the 2019 difference column, is the difference between Lee and Berkshire County average for those years. And for each of those grade levels, and for the total, it is a significant, statistically significant increase, greater than statistically significant increase, when you compare Lee to Berkshire County. Now, when I say that, I do want to make it very clear, this is an issue everywhere. When we have our principals meetings, this is a regular topic of conversation. Every school is seeing this. Although there is some reason to think perhaps it's even a little more intense here than in some other schools in the country. We did do the PNAS survey this year as well. We'll get those results sometime in the next month or 2, and we'll be able to update everybody. I suspect it's a higher. If the trend continues, it will be a higher number. And based on what we're seeing with kids that we're catching, it will be a higher number. All of this leads to the request that I have for you today, which is to consider funding the purchase and installation of vape detectors in bathrooms and locker rooms in the building. We have 5 bathrooms for student use, and we have the 2 locker rooms for student use. Some of those require multiple sensors based on the footprint of those. In doing my research, talking to other principals, there's one particular model, one brand, Halo, which seems to rise above the others. Those are the cost proposals that we received were for the Halo sensors. The installation, we can handle ourselves. It's pretty straightforward, and our maintenance staff can handle that installation. Nobody ever thought we needed an Ethernet drop in the bathroom. So we would have to run some cables in through the ceilings, but that's relatively easy. And what happens is when these sensors detect vaping, an alert goes to administrators' cell phones and emails, and we're able to respond quickly. I do want to mention, I have little interest in getting more kids in trouble. I have a huge desire and a huge interest in attempting to reduce the prevalence of vaping at school and out of school. But particularly in school, it is detrimental to the health, to their educational mission, to the ability of kids to stay in class and get their work done. So we'd like to find ways that we can decrease that. We also do education in our health class and our PE classes. But I think this tool, which by the way, anybody who's designing and building new schools, these are built right in now. It's a given, which is an interesting statement. But, so my request to you is for approximately $20,000 of the exact quotes were sent out, I believe, right?
Yeah.
$20,000 to fund the acquisition of these vape detectors.
I make a motion to accept the vape detectors as presented using CDW-G. Is that the?
That would be,
CDWG is the vendor, and currently, as you can see, they're the only vendor that has any of these halo detectors in stock.
Right.
And they also come in at the lowest price.
Well, that's,
Good,
I'm good.
second,
Any discussion?
Yeah, I do have one discussion, I mean, it's not gonna change the way I feel about this, but, with these locations that you wanna put these vapors, if we find that our students are a little more resourceful and find other places to vape within the building, will we have the capabilities to add on to that system?
you can always add,
Okay.
it's just a matter of having an Ethernet connection.
another drop.
And is this where you're primarily catching students?
Yeah.
It's the locker rooms?
Locker rooms and bathrooms right now are the areas that you can, there are times you can walk into the boys' room and see the haze.
Between, like, you're in the building, Jordan's in the facilities, I mean, can you think of other places now that potentially could be spots for students?
There's plenty of spots to identify where the children will sneak off to the front, inside now. Maybe it's just found many of the devices on the rooftop because they're out back smoking behind the workshop, maybe behind the workshop, and they see an adult come.
If I could, I certainly am not advocating for them to be everywhere in the building, but I will tell you that I haven't seen it, but anecdotally from school administrators and district administrators, kids are doing this in classrooms.
Because you just, like, literally, it's like that.
Right.
Built into your
Right. And so this, I think, would be an important step towards Mr. Briganti's mission, which is to try to curb the use. And we can't control what they do outside of school. But we certainly can help to educate and control what they do while they are in school.
Go back to, what was the hoodie?
Blow it in their
Built
hoodie.
into the hoodie.
Okay, so the hood's up?
Doesn't have to be.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think back to the hood thing.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, if that's,
His hood thing is my sound bar. You know?
yeah. Get a tomato, I get a hoodie.
So I know a thing or two, I catch people doing big wrongs. I'll get paid to do. And my concerns are that, this is just gonna create exclusion zones where this activity is not gonna happen. And we've already talked about it. They're gonna go elsewhere, and they're gonna do it. $20,000 for the bathrooms, so to back up just quickly, we met as finance subcommittee, this was brought before us, we asked for a hard number and to bring before the committee, and that's what we have in front of us. And it came in at $819.79 under the 20,000, so thank you for that. But we did that. I'm just concerned about this, and I get it, like vaping is, there's no question that it's detrimental to health, so much more than tobacco, so much more than other substances that you can smoke. And so, yeah, I get it. I'm just concerned, this being just a cost that continues to rise and rise and rise. If you then now put it in hallways, if you got to put it in classrooms, you got to put it here, it goes from 20,000 to 40 to 60 to 80. And interesting thought, like we walked away from our finance subcommittee meeting, and we had a conversation about this first, and then we had some conversations about of capital projects, like the roof, HVAC system, some large ticket items, right? And I kind of wish that we'd had that reversed. We had those capital projects discussed first, and then this afterwards. Because when I walked away, I feel he was like, this is a wants versus needs is how I look at the meeting and the topics that we discussed. This could be a need. I understand that. I don't know. I'm reluctant to fund this. I'm reluctant to vote yes to fund this only because I think this could be, that's a financial slippery slope where we just start adding on sensors and we add on here and we add on locations here and there. So that's my concern.
Feels like a therapy dog.
I was gonna say, like, on my side, we take the dogs. No, I got them. I mean, I grab them.
At least 8 to 10 years.
Greg, you shared a story at our meeting where like you just happened to walk into a bathroom and you caught a handful of kids, vaping, right? Now, every faculty member, when they walk down the hall, you got a male faculty member walking in the hall, a men's bathroom, pop in every single time.
Well, we do that.
I know you do.
We do that. So what I would say is that there are reports of, the hood thing and everything else, that is much, much less prevalent that students are doing this in areas that are supervised. The bathrooms in the locker rooms, most of the time, are areas which by definition are not supervised, although I have spent a growing amount of time in the boys' restroom.
You don't
this
want
year. I think that there are very few areas in the building that are as unsupervised as restrooms and bathrooms. Having another tool in those areas will be helpful. Yeah.
I would also like to ask, you mentioned that there already is awareness education.
Mhm.
Clearly, the education is not working,
Mhm.
or it's not effective enough. So I would like to also ask that there be a review of the education in the healthcare, in the health classes and wherever else, to see what else, and maybe we plug in an extra $900 to look at that education and say what can change. And maybe it's going to talk to everybody at the Sunoco and the Mobile and everywhere else, because they are freaking selling this stuff to their kids, which I was. But I don't know, it just feels like we want the deterrence, and something else has to change.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, if you look back, when Andrea and I were in these halls together, there was actually a smoking area.
Yeah, there was.
And
And they smoked in the bathroom.
they smoked in the teacher's room. You walk down the hallway and somebody would open the door and the smoke would go out. So smoking areas, rightly so, got restricted on campus. And at the time then, it was very easy to know when somebody was smoking a cigarette in a bathroom because the smell went everywhere. Now you get a little whiff of watermelon or something like that. It's kind of like, so it's a little tougher these days to find. So I think the sensors just even that playing
Somehow
field a
we
little
get a
bit.
peer
But I would
pressure
agree.
campaign in the reversed order
Yeah.
of it's not cool.
I would agree. We need to relook at how we're presenting the education.
Right? So I would almost like a contingency of, vote with funding and contingent upon reevaluating.
Yeah, I agree with Betsy, because there's got to be like an intervention program, like a smoking cessation, maybe even through the health department, Berkshire Health Systems too.
Yeah, that's one of the roles of the counselor that comes in twice a week from the Green Center.
Because you're not going to stop, right, the person who's smoking with their hood, because they're going to do it, but you may capture someone who's doing it for a social emotional issue.
Yeah.
That's the one you want to catch, because vaping is so
Right,
bad.
and
It's
you want
worse
to
than
help those
smoking.
kids that are addicted to the nicotine, because the nicotine levels in new things are much higher than they were in cigarettes.
Yeah.
Is there anything that student government ever does around campaigns such as this, not vaping in particular, but
Yeah, it was brought up by Ms. Armstrong, who's our student government, before the break. We never got to discuss it with Mr. Government, but yeah, that was a topic of discussion in one of our meetings.
do you guys ever take on certain causes, if you will? Is the not traditional?
Yes, yeah, I wouldn't say so. Yeah, we did think, because, yeah, Miss Armstrong was really like, we had a serious conversation about that in one of our meetings. And it was a good discussion. I'm glad that it was brought up.
Even we incentivize it. Quit and we'll give you a $50 gift card.
Quick, we'll give you a COVID shot.
Is there any information about the turn, like the alert time, like they detect it and is it like seconds or, I assume that it's all automated. Okay, now what about the administrators that are getting these notifications? Let's say that, you're having a meeting here in the office, and about a bathroom in like the hinterlands of the school, the sensor goes off. I mean, what is there, you know, another concern is that we're gonna spend $20,000. And if we, not the fault of administrators, but if administrators are occupied and can't react in a timely manner, are we going to lose that alert?
You may, and I think we need to look closely at who would be the recipient of the alerts. I think there's a case that could be made for staff members that go beyond just myself and the dean of students, who are scattered throughout the building. One of the benefits of this building is there really are no hinterlands. From my office to the middle school bathrooms
Right,
doesn't take more than, if you're really moving, it's a minute.
right.
I think you should have strobe lights and sirens go off. That'll stop you from vaping. First time that happens.
That'll be kids' version of swatting. Well, well, let's see.
No, I just,
It's tough. You don't want to, I get it. I mean, it's a difficult thing. You don't want to, the thought that we're having this conversation about this topic is strange. Right. But it is the reality of where we're at. I have great concern over these percentages that we're seeing as the increases of these as the years go on. And frankly, I shouldn't say this, but I was disappointed in Canon Provisions when we approached them through the town, asking them to fund this.
And they didn't.
And they declined.
I'm surprised.
but the town administrator had some comment about that, didn't
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was, except that the use of community impact funding has been greatly reduced, and that the retail establishment has a say, some greater say in how that money gets expended.
Maybe they should reconsider taking the couple million that the selectmen declined and reconsider the vote. We'll take it.
they? They would
Yeah,
have to-
initially
They
they
had
did.
to ask every mobile and gas station in the town as well, to throw in money, because they're the ones that are selling. these.
Yeah.
I was gonna say to Ms. Strickler's point about education is we are at a severe disadvantage to marketing, right? We can't compete with advertising
Not if it tells you
and-
watermelon
and
and cotton
marketing.
candy.
and
not
quite,
Marlboro,
and quite honestly,
Yeah.
while I have no
Stinks, you know?
I have no evidence of this. I have to imagine that there has to be a black market among students in the building, right? That are the,
I have evidence of it.
okay, well,
Same
so I
market
don't want to
store.
speak for you, right? But there it is, right? The kids are buying it and turn around and selling it. And so it's an uphill battle for
They're
sure.
smarter than
I think that this, like to your point, there are places where you can't be all the time, so. Put them in there, see how they work, you're gonna get a barometer here somewhere at some point. And then, come back and have a discussion, maybe there might be opportunities to get some more additional funding for it from outside folks, we're just not thinking of the right people right now.
And I think bottom line, you're just trying to keep them safe.
I mean, think about the kids after going into the bathroom, you either have asthma or medical issues or whatever. Then they suddenly don't want to go. They don't feel safe going in because that's smell.
And then they wait all day to go to the bathroom,
Yes.
like Kurt's poor child.
So, Tim's not presenting this in his school.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, Aaron,
Any other
it's
discussion?
intimidating.
it is. And I mean, everyone knows what I do and I hear stories. So,
Very good.
Love Aaron.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Robin?
yes.
Simmons?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Strickler?
Yeah.
Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes. Are we adding $900 tonight? Okay.
We will revisit our education.
All right, so next under new business, which is not on the agenda, but coming in as something we cannot reasonably anticipate, would be the donation account for the Comfort gift account.
I make a motion, we create a donation account. You sure you don't want just a separate code for it, for your dogs?
Donation revolving account.
You don't want a separate code for it? Dog code? You want a separate account?
Put in a gift.
I just going with what was,
Okay.
what I got from Jay Sullivan, so relying on the master.
Okay, I make a motion that we create a donation revolving account specifically to maintain receipts for dog receipts.
Comfort dog.
Comfort
I don't want
dogs.
to put all the dogs in Lee in there.
I second.
We don't want to,
Any discussion? I am grateful for the fundraising efforts. That was kind of a bone for me, no pun intended.
it's a bone
So,
of contention for you.
I'm very grateful to those people that are out there.
Yeah.
Fundraising and.
The
very
dogs are
grateful.
cute. Yeah. I love dogs.
Give it up.
Oh, yeah. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
McKinnon?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Strickler?
Yes.
Mrs. Blackburn?
Yes,
Do we have to accept the $100 donation now?
Yes, and set up.
Well, we had talked about setting a threshold for,
I make a motion, we set the threshold at $500?
I think that's fair
Gonna get a lot
per
more?
individual, right?
$500 per individual that allows the superintendent to accept a donation on behalf of the school committee.
So moved.
Any other discussion?
That's a second, I think. what it-
Thank you, second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yeah.
The donation.
Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Strickler?
Yes.
Mrs. Blackburn?
Yes. I make a motion, we accept the donation from the McHughes for the comfort dogs.
It's under the 500, so you're good.
Oh, good. Okay, you ain't gotta do it because he's got it.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
All right.
Future business, next meeting is March 14th, 2023. And then adjournment.
I motion we adjourn.
Can I just make two little announcements?
Yes, so
Two little announcements. April 1st, I'm going to NSBA, National School Boards Association in Orlando, presenting on dual enrollment. I'd love to come to your class and video your students and have them be featured. Can I do that? I'm gonna contact you. Okay, because BCC and MCLA are also coming with us. Cambridge too. And then May 4th is Day on the Hill, and we are advocating for that change, the 14% to go
OSD.
away, full funding of IDA, and then the more extra money for chapter 70. We also bring students. And I heard that a lot, the superintendents are getting a contingency together to bring students from the schools. It'd be great if school committees came. I know it's Wednesday, but we have money, right, for school committees to go? And then maybe some kids.
contact those
I think he's sitting right next to you.
Yeah, you want to go? So we can get a bus and you could pay for it. And then we could go early and MASC pays for lunch, we feed you, we go on the hill. And I think it's vocational schools do lunch in the big room of flags. And then you meet your legislators. I know I love it.
I just was there for a while last week.
And one final note, this Saturday, for anyone who is not aware, the Lee Master Plan Committee is having a public forum here in the Z.
Are you on the
from
master
11
plan?
to 1. Yes, there used to be 2 representatives from the school committee, but now there is one. And Nico Ruska, who is a student here, is joining the master plan committee to help represent the student body. Yay, Nico, he used to be listening. I don't know if he's still on. So please come share your opinions. There is also a survey out on the Lee Town website where you can express your opinions on a variety of things. Thank you very much.
Very nice, Betsy. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Betsy.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Kurt, for doing that too.
Anyhow, so Aaron had a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank
Any
you for your pen.
discussion?
It was lovely.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 27.
I honestly thought it was gonna be a 20.
Sure,